For today's lesson, we are going to discuss about multicultural and global literacy. To be reported by Sofia Nicole Tabares and Donaliza Panaga.
Multicultural education, goals and dimensions.
So what is multicultural education?
Multicultural education is an idea, an educational reform movement, and a process. As an idea, multicultural education seeks to create equal educational opportunities for all students, including those from different racial, ethnic, and social class groups. Multicultural education tries to create equal educational opportunities for all students by changing the total school environment so that it will reflect the diverse cultures and groups within a society and within the nation's classrooms. Multicultural education is a process because its goals are ideals that teachers and administrators should constantly strive to achieve. There are 5 identified dimensions of multicultural education. These are content integration, the knowledge construction process, prejudice reduction, an equity pedagogy, and an empowering school culture and social structure. First, content integration. Content integration deals with the extent to which teachers use examples and content from a variety of cultures and groups to illustrate key concepts, generalizations, and issues within their subject areas or disciplines. Second, the knowledge construction process. This describes how teachers help students to understand, investigate, and determine how the biases, frames of reference, and perspectives within a discipline influence the ways in which knowledge is constructed within it. Students also learn how to build knowledge themselves in this dimension. Third, prejudice reduction. This describes lessons and activities used by teachers to help students to develop positive attitudes toward different racial, ethnic, and cultural groups. Research indicates that children come to school with many negative attitudes toward and misconceptions about different racial and ethnic groups. Research also indicates that lessons, units, and teaching materials that include content about different racial and ethnic groups can help students to develop more positive intergroup attitudes if certain conditions exist in the teaching situation. These conditions include positive images of the ethnic groups in the materials and the use of multi-ethnic materials in a consistent and consequential way. Fourth, an equity pedagogy. An equity pedagogy exists when teachers modify their teaching in ways that will facilitate the academic achievement of students from diverse racial, cultural, and social class groups. Cooperative learning activities help all students to develop more positive racial attitudes. However, to attain these positive outcomes, cooperative learning activities must have several important characteristics. The students from different racial and ethnic groups must feel that they have equal status in intergroup interactions. Teachers and administrators must value and support cross-cultural interactions, and students from different racial groups must work together in teams to pursue common goals. And fifth, an empowering school culture and social structure is created when the culture and organization of the school are transformed in ways that enable students from diverse racial, ethnic, and gender groups to experience equality and equal status. The implementation of this dimension requires that the total environment of the school be reformed, including the attitudes, beliefs, and action of teachers and administrators, the curriculum and course of study, assessment and testing procedures, and the styles and strategies used by the teachers. Multicultural education effectively, teachers and administrators must attend to each of the 5 dimensions of multicultural education. They should use content from diverse groups when teaching concepts and skills, help students to understand how knowledge in the various disciplines is constructed, help students to develop positive intergroup attitudes and behaviors, and modify their teaching strategies so that students from different racial, cultural, and social class groups will experience equal educational opportunities. The total environment and culture of the school must also be transformed so that students from diverse ethnic and cultural groups will experience equal status in the culture and life of the school. Although the 5 dimensions of multicultural education are highly interrelated, each requires deliberate attention and focus.
Content integration. Teachers use several different approaches to integrate content about racial, ethnic, and cultural groups into the curriculum. The first level of content integration, and one of the most popular, is the contributions approach. Now, what is contributions approach? It is when teachers insert isolated facts about ethnic and cultural group of heroes and heroines into the curriculum without changing the structure of the lesson plan and units. The contributions approach gains its popularity from the fact that it is the easiest approach to use. It requires no alterations to the existing curriculum and can give the illusion that diversity is being celebrated. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Black History Month, Women's Month, and Cinco de Mayo are only some of the examples included in this approach. So the next level of content integration is the additive approach. Additive approach is also frequently used by teachers to integrate content about ethnic and cultural groups into the school curriculum. In this approach, the organization and the structure of the curriculum remains unchanged. Special units on ethnic and cultural groups are added to the curriculum. So now let's proceed to the knowledge construction and transformation. The transformation approach brings content about ethnic and cultural groups from the margin to the center of the curriculum. It helps students to understand how knowledge is constructed and how it reflects the experiences, values, and perspectives of its creators. In this approach, the structure, assumptions, and perspectives of the curriculum are changed so that the concepts, events, and issues taught are viewed from the perspectives and experiences of a range of racial, ethnic, and cultural groups. The center of the curriculum no longer focuses on mainstream and dominant groups, but on an event, issue, or concept that is viewed from many different perspectives and points of view. This is done while at the same time helping students to understand the nation's common heritage and traditions. Teachers should help students to understand that while they live in a diverse nation, all citizens of a nation-state share many cultural traditions, values, and political ideals that cement the nation. Multicultural education seeks to actualize the idea of e pluribus unum, to create a society that recognizes and respects the cultures of its diverse people, united within a framework of democratic values that are shared by all. Before we proceed to our next slide, what do you mean when we say e pluribus unum? Here is a little trivia. E pluribus unum was once the motto of the United States of America. It is a Latin of out of many one, or one out of many. Personal, social, and civic action. Action activities and projects should be tuned to the cognitive and moral developmental levels of students. Practicality and feasibility should also be of important considerations. Students in the primary grades can take action by making a commitment to stop laughing at ethnic jokes that sting. Students in the early and middle grades can act by reading books about other racial, ethnic, and cultural groups. Upper elementary grade students can make friends with students who are members of other racial and ethnic groups and participate in cross-racial activities and projects with students who attend different schools in the city. Upper grade students can also participate in projects that provide help and comfort to people in the community with special needs. They can also participate in local political activities such as school bond elections and elections and local initiatives. Lewis 1991 has written a helpful guide about ways to plan and initiate social action activities and projects for students. There have been many social movements to define and strengthen adults' rights. For example, you've probably read about the women's rights movement, right? But before it started and grew strong, many people thought that women were not smart enough or interested enough to take social action, do certain kinds of jobs, or even vote in elections. Other rights movements are working to increase opportunities for people who have been discriminated against. When students learn contempt about the nation and the world from the perspectives of the diverse groups that shape historical and contemporary events, they will be better able to participate in personal, social, and civic actions that are essential for citizens in a democratic, pluralistic society.
To be reported by Zara Lane Sotor and Mary Jane Pantonial. Global literacy. What do you mean by the phrase global literacy? Global literacy, when taken literally, conjures up several possible meanings. For example, basic literacy levels around the world or improving geographical knowledge. However, in this case, it is used to convey a broader goal of fluency in skills and competence relating to knowledge and understanding of nations and cultures. According to Theodore Zeldin of 1998, our education cannot be complete until we have had conversations with every continent and every civilization. We are deeply connected and will continue to be because of the many far-reaching changes now occurring. We have here first, the rise of emerging economies. Second, the growing urbanization, especially in Asia. Third, accelerating technological change, challenges in future decades as populations age. And lastly, the increased global flow of people, trade, and finance. To enable students to thrive as global citizens, a worldwide mindset is the best preparation, as well as an education that aims at appreciating the great diversity of cultures and their life stories and histories. The necessity for this kind of literacy is recognized by prominent educational leaders, albeit using slightly different terms. For example, among the terms used are global competence, intercultural understanding, global citizenship, international mindedness, and cultural intelligence. Global competence, defined as the ability to investigate the world, recognize perspectives, communication ideas, and take action. Intercultural understanding, defined as the ability to exhibit curiosity and basic knowledge about global cultures. Expect complexity and multiple perspectives. See self as part of multiple cultures. Value cultural diversity and be comfortable with ambiguity. Global citizenship. Defined as the understanding, skills, and values people need to cooperate in resolving the interconnected challenges of the 21st century. International mindedness. A concept central to the International Baccalaureate Organizations or IBO programs focusing on multilingualism, intercultural understanding, and global engagement. Cultural intelligence. Defined as a capability to relate to and work effectively with people from different cultures. According to the article International Mindedness Through Books by American English teacher Asa Chamberlain, modern invention like telephone, telegraph, radio, automobile, and airplane make the band whether we will or not. Since science has linked us together, we must learn to live together harmoniously.
For an in-depth discussion of the need for global literacy and how it can be implemented in schools, Mastering Global Literacy is highly recommended. It is edited by Heidi Hayes Jacobs, one of the series of professional texts on new literacies. It would be a teacher's choice for a teacher's book club. The chapters are written by experts who offers new suggestions for ways forward and recommended sources. School libraries' physical space can support global literacy. Don't underestimate how the school library's physical space can support global literacy. Let the school library be the window of the world. As Reggio Emilia, educational philosophy asserts, the environment is the third teacher. Highlight literature from around the world. Make visual connections to international issues, and host events that supports global awareness. Education is a force to unite people, nations, and culture for peace and sustainable future. This is the mission statement of the International School in Singapore, linked to 14 other United World College schools around the world. However, that assumption doesn't always guarantee outward expressions of global literacy. We still have to work at it, given our school exists within a privileged Anglo-heritage bubble. First step is to acknowledge the bubble and then to get interested in what other bubbles might look like from the inside.
As Jonathan Haidt argued in his book The Righteous Mind of 2012, we all have pretty much the same values, we just prioritize them differently. Since then, Haidt has called for more viewpoint diversity in the United States to increase our generosity of spirit and tolerance both internally and globally.
Trivia. Did you know almost 100 years ago, there was a movement within libraries to establish international mind alcoves, shelves dedicated to the concept of the international mind? In 1918, the Carnegie Endowment for the International Peace partnered with libraries to provide books about foreign cultures, history, and international activities. The idea of World War I was to promote peace through the cultivation of internationalism. Over the course of years, over 1,000 adults and almost 500 children's international mind alcoves were established. The alcoves were introduced not only in the United States but in 22 other countries as well. Unfortunately, although the CEIP is still very active, the International Mind Alcove movement died in 1950s under suspicion of promoting material against American national interests. Example, Perlbach's The Good Earth was deemed slightly leftist by the political science professor hired by a congressional committee to review books distributed by CEIP. The historical perspective is interesting. It also brings to mind how after World War II, Jella Lepman founded the International Board on Books for Young People to promote international understanding through children's books. Luckily for us, that organization has survived and thrived.